At 16 years, this girl, who we'll name Sarah, has lived through a year of horror. After losing her mother, she faced the unimaginable cruelty of being repeatedly defiled by her father. Sarah, who was in senior 1 in a boarding school, says the crime always happened whenever she returned home for holidays.
One evening while I was going to revise with my friend, my father called me back and asked if I had visited the bush, to which I replied yes. He asked me to show him, but I declined and I told him, "You being a man and my father, you're not allowed to see anything." After dinner, he forced his way and touched my private parts. I was devastated, but I thought that would be it and that it would not escalate.
This marked the beginning of her nightmare.
Next morning, as I was washing clothes, he asked my siblings to go to the guest quarters. He then told me to get inside the house and go straight to his bedroom, but I refused. He picked a panga and threatened to kill me, and that's how I gave in and he defiled me.
Throughout this ordeal, Sarah got pregnant 7 times, and each time her father gave her pills to abort the fetus.
He would tiptoe to my bed every night to defile me. My siblings were sleeping in other rooms, so they would not know what was happening. The first time I conceived, he gave me a concoction of pawpaw roots and tea leaves, which led to a miscarriage. All the other times, he would carry me to different clinics to abort the fetus.
It took the courage of a neighbor to bring the abuse to light.
When this girl escaped from her father's house, she came to my home. My maid informed me through a phone call the reason why she had escaped. I asked her to keep her indoors until I got back home. She spent the night. Next morning, I started looking for help, made a few calls, and I was connected to this organization, Tusitukirewamu, who then connected me to a probation officer, who also directed me to report the case to police, which I did.
Her father was eventually arrested. Sarah, who is pregnant, now lives in a shelter. Records from the Uganda Prison Service show that for the last 7 years, defilement tops convictions for men. As of March 2024, 14,681 men were incarcerated for crimes related to defilement. Of these, 7,405 were convicted for aggravated defilement, while 4,942 were on remand for aggravated defilement. Most victims have been defiled by people they know. Police statistics for July and August 2024 indicate that 187 victims were defiled by parents and guardians, and 148 were defiled by teachers. 383 were defiled by HIV-positive persons, while 131 of their victims were children with disabilities. As Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate the International Day of the Girl Child, under the theme, Girls' Vision for the Future, many young girls are uncertain about their future.
It shows that there is still a problem with the community, especially men. We are also not seated as police. We are doing community policing. We have been going out to schools to sensitize young girls, always to come out and talk.
This 16-year-old girl, who we'll call Jessica, was married off 2 years ago when she was in senior 1.
I was in senior 1 when I got pregnant. When my relatives found out, they asked me to start living with the man responsible for the pregnancy. After delivery, he would beat me up and not even provide for me and the baby. I decided to leave.
Today, Jessica is being trained as a tailor by Tusitukirewamu Group, an organization that rescues and offers shelter to victims of gender-based violence. Florence Masulia, the executive director of the organization, says that in a week they can get 3 girls brought into their gates.
Most of the cases we get are incest cases because right now we have like 6 cases of incest by the grandfather, the father, the stepfather, the uncles. During the stay in the shelter, we always empower them as a girl child because we always give alive examples. Like it happened to me and it will happen to any woman, but what you have to do is to stick on your future.
Esther Adeketum, a child protection officer with the Child and Family Protection Department of the Uganda Police, says that the family setup sometimes hinders girls from attaining their full potential.
One of the factors that need to be taken care of there is positive parenting. Positive parenting. Let parents be intentional in protecting these children. Not just only parents, but even the community around us. We also have an issue of culture and perception. When you look at a girl, what are you seeing? Are you seeing cows in her? Are you seeing a son-in-law and grandchildren in her? With due respect to religion, we have certain content in our religion. Not all of it is bad. If, for example, the religion does not allow this girl at the age of 20, the religion sees that as a woman. At the age of 17, sees that child as a woman. I mean a child below 18, this girl, that religion is a hindrance to this girl attaining her potential.
We are having issues of poverty that are on the high, that are also exposing the young girl to many of those issues. Limitations of access to sanitary pads and limitations of access to reading materials, not being able to go to school because you do not have the funds.
Sheila Kasabiti, the programs manager at Reach a Hand Uganda, says violence against children should be addressed using a multi-sectoral approach.
We appreciate the government for the mechanisms in place, but they have not been enabled enough to facilitate the reporting of the cases that have been identified in the communities.
When we're discussing implementation of government policy, of government strategies, of government frameworks, I think the community must understand that strategies, laws and policies are designed with the thinking that all of us as Ugandans have a role to play when it comes to their implementation.
Rogers Goloba, a senior probation and welfare officer with the Ministry of Gender and Social Development, says that the government has a number of interventions that will mitigate these challenges.
We have national and community level awareness raising activities. We commemorate a number of days. We have the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Day. We have the Day of the African Child. We have the International Day of the Girl Child. We have 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So all these days are a number of days that we use to be able to add our voice.
Both Sarah and Jessica have hopes of going back to school and becoming lawyers. With the right support and resources, these girls' potential can be limitless.
The responsibility to protect every girl child not only lies with the government, it is rather a collective effort. In homes, in schools, and in communities, these girls are looking at us. They are asking to be listened to, for action to be taken, and to ensure that their vision for the future is one that is free of violence and fear. Mildred Pedun, NTV.